könyvemnek a címe az, hogy Fee Fo Fum, az ünnepe nyilván tudja, hogy honnan van, avagy találkozás 3 fiatal emberrel. Minden ember több emberből van összerakva. Ezt nem én mondom, hanem egy nagy író, de ettől még akár igaz is lehet. Minden ember több emberből van összerakva, de ez nem mindig látszik. Amikor viszont igen, az olyan meghökkentő, vagy megnyugtató. Gondolom ez attól függ, hogy mi magunk hány emberből vagyunk összerakva. Mentő kérdés, szert, húsz, öccse, ötvököt, görög, hány ember. Jól van, kollégina, ne búsuljon, notabene, búsuljon a ló. Tudja azt maga, csak momentán nem jut eszébe. Happens to the best of us, mondja a 3 Feri, és megértően bólogatnak, pedig nekik mindig minden az eszükbe jut. Olyasmi is, amiről más még csak nem is hallott harangozni. Álmomban 3 Feri voltam, és játszottam egymással. Egyikünk sem bírt túljárni a másik eszén. Ez volt benne a játék, hogy úgy csináltunk, mint a lehetséges lenne, pedig tudtuk, hogy nem az. Jó kis játék volt, mindig mindenki veszített. Vagy nyert. Álmomban 3 Feri voltam, és vitatkoztam egymással. Na, ott aztán kőkövön nem maradt. Mitagadás, saját érveim súlya alatt megrobbantam. 3 Feri vagyok, és megyek a Pesti Garnibás utca 4. emeleti folyosóján. Ezért csak hallom, hogy egy angol-francia szakos diáklány azt mondja a másiknak. Nézed már, a Takács nem pont úgy néz ki, mint a Balzak. 2 vagy 3 angol-francia szakos diáklány vagyok, és szeretjük a Balzakot is, meg a Takácsot is. Ilyen bonyolultban minden. Közben eltelt mondjuk 30 év, de bizonyos érzések nem változnak. Balzak, Takács. Csak egy valaki ismerte ki magát már akkor is, a 3 Feri. History, Stephen said, is a nightmare from which I'm trying to awake. Ezt ugyan eredetileg nem a 3 Feri mondta, de akár ő is mondhatta volna. Én minden esetre tőle hallottam. Gyanakodni, kapirgálni, leásni, nem készpénznek lenni. Ezt kaptuk a 3 Feritől útravalóul, bele a kis divatos hippi tarisznyákba. Hozzá egy csinos bányászlámpát. Feltevés 1. A 3 Feri azért van 3-an, mert ennyi tudás egy fejbe, alász, nem fér bele. Feltevés 2-3. A 3 Feri vagy azért van 3-an, hogy édesanyjának örömet okozzon, vagy netán szépen, egalitáriusan azért, hogy senki se szenvedjen hiányt. Minden esetre, és ezúttal nem kell gyanakodni, nem kell utána menni, nem kell kapirgálni, örülünk. Ám de akárhányan is van, ő azért mindig egy. Magyarul úgy mondjuk unikum.
And now Donald Morris is going to read Robin's short story.
Thank you. I'm here really to thank Ferry for all the years of dedication and leadership that he has given to Irish studies in this country as scholar, compere, raconteur, and promoter of the arts. Sheila and I first met Connie, along with Ferry, in Dublin, in Mulligan's of Poolbeg Street. It was an accidental meeting, but the choice was not accidental, because both of us being Irish and Joyce scholars, we chose Mulligan's because it figures very significantly in Joyce's short story counterparts. And I'd like to, if I could, share with you just a little excerpt from a story I have written that also takes place in an Irish pub, not in Dublin, but down in County Wicklow. In fact, I'm sure it's a pub that Bill McCormick knows. Is he still here? Meeting of the Waters. Do you, Bill? Yes, wonderful. Not now. The place is wrecked. It's a lounge bar. There are tourist buses. It's god-awful. but back in the 1970s, it was a country pub where farmers would come in after a hard day's work. They'd all have their cloth caps on, their pints in their hands, and they would entertain each other with stories. And so I'm going to read you a couple of the stories that I heard in the Meeting of the Waters back in the 1970s. I've got a fictional narrator. He's an American, and he will tell the story. There's only one Irish word maybe some of you need to know: guard. A guard is a policeman in Ireland. A new round of drinks comes in, and that reminds somebody of a story about someone who had a drop too much taken. So there was Sean, celebrating the great day, and by early evening he was properly set up. So out of the pub he reels, gets into the car. He was in no shape to walk. Not being one to waste time, he puts the car in gear and races away. Out onto the road he roars, and what should he meet there but a passing funeral procession? Well, he's in such a hurry, or else a bloody well drunk, that instead of putting on the brakes, he puts on the speed and hits the hearse broadside. The force of the blow knocks the coffin clean through the window and out on the other side. Sean knows he's hit something, and out of the car he gets. As he looks around to see if any damage has been done, he spots the corpse on the grass. So cool as you please, he leans over and apologizes for any possible inconvenience caused by his impetuosity. When he gets no reply, he takes your man on the ground silence for acceptance. So doesn't he bend over and shake the corpse's hand? Then, composing himself, and with a grand show of dignity, he gets back in the car and drives off down the road to another pub, where he spends the rest of the evening until tea time. The storyteller waited for the chuckles to subscribe and then added, now that's a true story I'm telling you. Sure as I'm sitting here. Aye, that's right, agreed the neighbor. Why, do you know, it wasn't until later that evening that the guards caught up with him in the other pub. And when they asked him, didn't he know it was a corpse he was shaking hands with, he told them, sure, and it wasn't a good thing, because I couldn't do him any more hurt, could I? That may have impressed the guards for a moment, but it did not go down with the judge, who fined him damages and costs. I, Sean sober, received a nasty surprise from Sean drunk. As the talk drifted on, Jack leaned back, completely contented. The good talk circled round his head, and the stout gurgled happily in his belly. What had St. Paul said? Take a little wine for thy stomach's sake. That was it. A little wine and a lot of Guinness for thy equilibrium. Never trust anyone who's teetotal, unless they're not taking anything between drinks. He recalled the many stories he'd heard in this and other pubs of someone who went mad because, according to the common wisdom, he was not a drinking man. Well, he wouldn't go quite that far. He would admit to being suspicious of the man who did not take his glass with the rest. He sipped his stout, feeling the liquid slide down his throat, and then hit the previous pints, now souring in his stomach. Then he heard a neighbor say, well, have you not heard the one about the 7-day camel? No one had. So he began, well, it seems that camels, as you all must know, are famous for being able to go several days without a drink, something that few of us here could do. In fact, some of them are able to go for as many as 4 or 5 days without having a drop of water. Well, it seems that there was this fellow over there in Egypt, or one of them countries, who had to do a good bit of traveling out in the desert. The way that he wanted to go was longer than usual, and he went around hunting for a camel, one that could go the whole distance without having a drop of water. He went to one camel dealer who had several for hire, asked if he had a beast that could go 7 days without drinking. No, said the man, I don't. Longest any of mine will go is 5 days. The next dealer gives him the same story, as does the next and the next, until finally he runs across a dealer who, while he doesn't have any 7-day camels himself, knew of someone who did. He told the fella to go out and around this section of the city, and when he came to the top of the hill over towards the west, he'd find a small hut with a man sitting in before it. That was the place he'd find the 7-day camel. So off he goes. up and around the section of the city until he finds a man sitting before a hut at the top of a hill. "Are you the man with the 7-day camel?" he asked politely. "Why, yes, I have 3, 4, and 5-day camels and 1 or 2 7-day ones. May I rent one of the 7-day ones?" "Certainly." So he pays the price of the camel, makes all the arrangements to bring him back, whereupon the dealer takes him across the way to show him the camels. He picks one out that looks good to him, and your man hands him a couple of bricks. "What's this for?" asks the customer. "Well," says the dealer, "you want to take that camel over to the water hole and let him drink his fill. Now, your ordinary camel will drink enough for 5 days. So what you do is when you take him down there, you watch him very carefully as he drinks. When he's almost done, come up quickly behind him with the 2 bricks. Take careful aim, and when he's about to finish, smash them 2 bricks together with the camel's balls in between. When you do that, the camel goes, and there, that's the additional 2 days' water for the 7-day camel." First there were surprised looks, and then laughter, and then the call for last round. "Drink up, ladies and gents, drink up, please." People emptied their glasses, began departing. Out of the smoky pub they went into the clear night air. Overhead the dark blue night sky was crammed with stars. So good to see them, thought Jack. I never see stars at home with all the street lights and shopping centers. "Night," he called to one of the farmers. Best of luck came back from the black figure, started walking off. Jack reached his car, slid onto the seat, braced himself, started the engine, put the car in gear, and drove off down the road. "Think I've put away enough pints to survive a 7-day drought myself, but mine are all right. With any kind of luck, I should be able to put them to good use before long." The little car rounded the bend and disappeared into the night, lit by a myriad of stars in the setting moon, leaving the now deserted pub behind.